Are you good, Jim?
Yep. John?
I don't know.
We are
'Cause
live.
mine went
We are
right to-
live, not
Oh,
Memorex.
wait, no, we're not.
It was acting up last time.
A little deer damage, or a hail damage.
Maybe you need to refresh it. It's been off.
Probably still should. Then we'll put it in the shed. something like that.
Right to the windshield.
Yeah. You had my IT guy next to me, works on
About the same thing. It maybe should be moved, but I'm not getting in it.
Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. It is 9:01 and Becky would call the roll
Sure. Jim Sheeline,
here.
Arlen McLean, Tom Kitson,
Present.
Lara Mamini,
Here.
Doug Farster,
Here.
Rick Humphrey,
Here.
Tim Bivens.
I assume everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes and any additions or corrections? Hearing none, motion by accept minutes by Bivens, seconded by Kitson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Visitors, we've got Greg, what do you got? Do you have anything for us?
Nope.
Yes, Mr. Glessner, do you have anything for us?
To speak with you about our gas situation.
Absolutely. Amy? Paula? Fantastic. Paul? Jennifer? And I remembered your name this morning. Give me credit. I get a star.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to mention that I do have a motion for an ordinance that's coming in front of executive committee. It doesn't impact finance, but I wanted to mention to you that it is a special assessment for low income housing statute that the state has passed, and we're asking to opt out of it. It is it's something that can be opted back in at any time if the right project comes to you as the county board, but at this time it is prohibitive to smaller jurisdictions to administer. It is a large onerous on the assessment office to administer this. It's more geared towards Cook County and the Collar counties. Cook County is the only county that can't opt out of it. It says 30,000 or more inhabitants can't opt out of it, but we can. So I just wanted to mention that to the finance, even though it's budget neutral at this time, that I'm going to bring it in front of executive.
So it is going to run this month, Jennifer.
It's going to run this month for a 30-day layover to be voted on next month.
Okay, thanks for the heads up.
Thank you.
Nancy, do you have anything for us?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Charlie?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. We'll move on to the treasurer's monthly financial report. Paula or Paul? Double P's instead of triple P.
I'm up and use this podium so I can look at you. So
Make up my joke.
if you want to go to the first page on your what are pads, your on board, okay. So this is the general fund, and there's only so we're 50% of the way through the year. It's into the second quarter. So the only anomalies that are really, well, I mean, there's several things to explain. So property taxes, we've just started collection. We haven't actually distributed any of that to the taxing bodies, which includes Lee County. So that's why there's really nothing collected. I do want to point out, though, that what turned out to be the final levy for the year was $6,065,000. We had budgeted 6.235. So we're going to run probably 170,000 short of what we budgeted in that line item for this year. Sales tax is a little bit ahead of schedule. Income taxes, and if you go to the next page, you can see the breakdown by month and the last couple of years of some of our taxes. If you go to the revenue pages behind that, it should be starting on the second page of those revenue pages. State income tax, and specifically personal property replacement tax, which is really corporate income tax, paid into the state of Illinois are way up. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys have heard anything as to why they're so far up. What's going on? Have no idea. But we're getting money in hand over fist. So for income taxes for the year, we've actually already collected halfway through the year, everything that we expected to collect for the year. So we're going to be way ahead. Yes, sir.
The only one I noticed is down is the local use tax.
Right, and I think that's because that's where the internet tax, when it was paid, before they automated everything and added it to all the online buying sites or whatever. It used to be self-reported and it came through as use tax. So I think it's now included in the sales tax. So some of the sales tax might just be that they're collecting everything that's bought online that never really got reported before, and some of it was in use tax. So use tax went down a little bit, sales tax went up quite a bit. Income taxes way up. So the other anomaly right now are transfers. Transfers, we've transferred the money in that we expected to transfer in for the year, but we haven't done our transfer out at the end of the year, which is usually we transfer anything that's a surplus at the end of the year to the capital fund. So that's going to be out of whack probably really into the last month of the year. And then if you go down to expenses, I'm sorry, I'm back up on the first page, the general fund income statement. So if you go back up to that, on the expenses, again, we're 50% of the way through the year. The county general is the second line under expenses. That just sort of picks up everything that's not in a department, sort of an overhead account. That is under because we haven't made our second debt payment for the LEC. Well, there's 2 debt payments coming, but we pay twice a year. The first one generally is only interest and the second one picks up principal. So we've got a big debt payment coming up, which will catch that up in September. I think they're due. Yeah. And that is about it for what I was going to talk about in concerning these. Did you guys have any other questions?
Any questions for Paula?
This is a quarter end, so we do need to have an approval of these.
And
then
that sheet is going around.
we need to have you guys
Yeah,
all
Doug's
sign
got it.
that for the full board meeting, please. Thank you.
Do you have anything else for the quarterlies or?
No, I don't have anything else for the quarterlies. That was all I was going to touch on.
Okay, all right, sounds good. All right. Oh, that's right, we do. We just can't sign up. Where'd Becky go? All right. Well, I'd entertain a motion to approve the quarterly financial report, moved by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. That was Kitson and Bivens.
That was the quarterly.
That was quarterly.
Thank you.
Insurance Committee and Gregco reports. I know we have a report. Nancy Naylor will be with us next month to talk about what's going on in Insurance Committee. Lerm, do you have anything on Gregco? Okay. I don't see any monthly resolutions, old business, the fiscal year budget adjustment for approved raises. This is also just a reminder, this is discussion only to explain some things. Have a discussion about last year's budget. And Paula?
I didn't know you wanted me to present anything. So all right. If you go to your resources folder and go to the committee only folder in your resources folder, there's one for finance now. Well, maybe there always was one. I don't know. But included in that is the breakdown of this budget adjustment. I think it says something about budget adjustment, justification for raises, or has some title to that effect. Did you guys all find it? You're there. Lerm's there. Okay. So what this spreadsheet does is it shows all of the individuals that were, when we went through budgets last summer, I had proposed a certain raise. I had put money in each line item for those raises. During the course of the conversation, the finance committee asked that those dollars be taken out of the individual department lines and put into a contingency line. That was $256,000 that I pulled out of the individual lines. I put it into contingency. A couple of weeks later, we actually cut that contingency from 256 down to 200,000. And so it got left in the contingencies for 200,000. 50 was regular contingency, 200,000 was for the raises that had not yet been determined due to negotiations, what you guys were going to approve for raises after negotiations, so on and so forth. So when we finished all of that, I put together this spreadsheet that is in your folders. And it is by person. It's got last year's amount in there. It's got your approved raise as the column. The third column, well, the third dollar number column is the annual amount that they would have in FY22. I then summed those up by department. I compared it to the budget that ended up, the final budget that you guys approved in November. And then I created a budget adjustment for that difference. And that's what went into this amendment. So those dollar amounts are all reflected in this amended budget that we put out there a couple months ago. It's been tabled for a couple of months. You had $200,000 to spend. You were 9,000. My totals on this page, 9,176 short of the 200,000. Well, the IT department had started to use overtime because we are very behind in IT at this county. And so there was a request for Jonathan to be here in the evenings and for them to be doing some special projects throughout the county, because we have a lot of backed up, and I think I've got some department heads that would agree that we've got some pretty backed up projects. So anyway, so I just threw the remainder of that 200,000, that 9,167, 176, whatever it is, into the IT overtime line. So that is the explanation as to why these numbers are what they are and the calculation as to what they are. Any questions?
Questions for Paula? Rick?
So, and I don't have the breakdown on the sheet that you have in front of me. I can't find it, but anyway, on there was some,
Are you in your resources folder?
yeah, and I can't find it.
And there's one called committee meetings.
Maybe only docs.
Yes, click on that one. And then there should be finance inside of there.
Found it there.
And it should be the only document in
Now I
there.
got it. Thank you.
You want me to go over them again?
Well, no, but I mean, I understand what you were saying, Paul. I guess my concern was that when we originally went through this process, the non-union personnel and then the two contracts we were talking about
Mhm.
were the employees that were
Mhm.
in question.
Mhm.
And that's what the money was set aside for. What I seen on the resolution, though, when it came through, was there was various departments that were going to get a raise according to that document. But in our budget, when we passed the budget, those people had already been approved for the raises. So I guess my question was, were they going to get a raise on top of the raise that they were already approved for?
No, everybody got just the $2 raise that you guys approved, with the exception of a couple of people on here that got a little bit more, that honestly were the attorneys that I think
And those are-
Charlie's
and
having a
those are the people
difficult
that-
time
Those are the
retaining.
departments that I'm talking about, because they were already approved back at budget time for raises. So I just, when I look at it, it looks like they're gonna get a raise according to that resolution, when they should have been already had that raise back at budget time, and it should have been already passed. So that's the only reason I was questioning.
Well, I guess what I'm doing here is, this is the cost of what these people are going to cost this year. And with the exception of 3 people that got just a couple $100 more because of the attorney situation, they are, I'm just bringing their budget to actual. So that at the end of the year, what they get, what is spent out of their budget is what is in their budget.
So your resolution isn't in this folder, is that correct?
No, the resolution itself is not, but the dollar amounts that you're looking at on that document are exactly what's in the resolution.
Well, like I said, for example, and I'm not picking on D,
Mhm.
but I think D is in here in this adjustment, but she was already approved back in.
No,
budget
she
year,
wasn't. No. You hadn't approved raises for anybody until you approved them in February.
Hmm.
The union people, all the union people had been determined, but non-union people had not been determined. Even if they're a department head, they still hadn't been determined.
Yeah.
At least I don't remember you guys ever approving raises. Does somebody else have a different
Well,
recollection?
budgets were approved for those people that weren't covered under the union contract or the non-union personnel. So department heads would have been approved at that time.
But the department heads are non-union personnel.
I understand that, but they're also,
So what you're saying is that you didn't want to give them the $2 raise
Well,
because you're,
what held this up initially, 2 months ago, was the concern with, and we talked with chairman, was did we give employee A, did we give them a raise based on their merit and then come back and employee A also gets that $2
Well-
was our concern. And we wanted to verify that that was
Okay.
not happening. That was what, why
so,
this got held up and
so,
last month couldn't be voted on. We've never discussed it in this committee. That
okay.
was-
So everybody on here got the $2 raise, I said, with the exception of basically 3 attorneys who got slightly more. So nobody else got a merit raise. What they got was a $2 raise. All of the people on this list got a $2 raise, which is what you approved in February. Maybe I did not understand what your motion in February was supposed to be. Because the people who did get a raise, because there are a couple people who did
Yeah.
get raises, they're not on this list.
That was, Paula, that was the
Okay, maybe
concern.
that's what you
We
needed.
did not have that list to prepare at that time 2 months ago when it came to the board, and that was the concern.
There was
That's
a,
what brought us to where we are today.
there's a couple of people who did get raises. I could only think of the name of one, but there might have been another one. That's the one that I can think of. She is not on this list because she already had a different raise given to her. You guys gave her a specific raise.
I
Is-
had
is
an
your-
employee that got a raise and then did not get the $2.
Okay,
And then
yes,
is your
thank you. You do
concern,
have an employee.
is your concern that the budget that was passed in November already reflected some of those raises in it, meaning you increased their budget? Was that what your concern is?
No, the concern, Paul, was that, again, we're back to 2 months ago when this came before the board. The concern was that we had not verified that we had not given employee A, we gave them a raise because they changed position, or because they had more responsibility. And then did we come back with a $2 raise? We
No.
wanted to verify that. That was
No.
never discussed and straightened out
These are,
prior to that vote. So we tabled it. Last month, we tabled it again because we had not had that conversation in this committee. And that's all we want to do is verify that we're not double raising 1 or 2 employees in unfairness to everybody else. That's,
the
am I right?
FY,
That's the whole discussion of what we want.
the FY21 annual amount that I've got on this list is what their rate, their salary was last year. The 4,160 is a $2 an hour raise. And so that creates, if you do the math across, that's the FY22 annual amount now. And that's what you need to make their budgets whole. Nobody else got any raise other than what this is listed right here. This budget adjustment only reflects these people on this document.
But that was the only concern I think we had.
Sure,
What's your concern, Rick?
I am.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, so we have no action. This was for discussion points only, so that you guys would raise the concerns that you did. Any other concerns in regards to the budget adjustment? Hearing none, so in executive, we'll have the anticipation that full board will be taking this off of the table and have the budget adjustment resolution passed next Thursday. Okay. All right, so we are to new business, to the ARPA committee recommendations, and the first one is the Goodfellows request. You have that application in front of you. This did get passed on by the ARPA committee for approval. Let's get a motion on the floor and then we'll discuss. So we have a motion move to move the recommendation as presented by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. Clipper Kitties preschool request. You have that application as in front of you as well. There was good discussion in the ARPA committee. This was a reduction of make sure that their request out of ARPA funds for this particular category did align with the other service industry service groups, and so just make that note, Rick. Or well, let's get a motion on the floor and then we can discuss. So moved by Bivens, seconded by Forrester. All right, Rick, question.
The paperwork in here doesn't reflect the reduction. It's still asking for 15,000. So I don't know if it's just technicality or what, but
On their application, you mean?
no, one that's on the Lee County, the one that's in our folder here, as a request is for 15,000.
Yeah.
There's a
And-
note above it that I see on mine.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Good catch, Marilyn. I didn't see it in there. I don't know why I couldn't see it in red. Per June 9th, 22, ARPA committee recommendation approved 10,000 from the community service allocation. So there you go. Anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion, those against, motion carried. Okay. Yes, yes. Okay. Now we've got capital funds for courts building the elevator project. Entertain a motion to approve this to executive, moved by Bivens, seconded by Kitson. Discussion. Greg, do you want to make any comments on this one?
The last time I was here, we had a little discrepancy on the total amount. We went back to them, requested a firmer bid, and they did as good as they could do, but they get to the point where the cylinder has to be removed out of the ground. There's so many different things that could happen. The hole could collapse, the casing inside the ground could be bad. There's several different things. That's why it is up to right. If we figure in all the problems that could appear, we would be up to 300,000. If we have no problems at all, we're going to be right around $240,000. If then we have all these other options when they pull the cylinder, this could happen or that could happen, and they don't know till they get that cylinder pulled. They don't know what option they're going to have to, if any, that they're going to have to do. So that's why it jumps it up to 300,000 if they have major problems when they pull that cylinder out. And you got to remember, it's been in there for 39 years, and we could go with the option of not changing the cylinder, but at the age of it, they could not guarantee me how long they thought it would last. We could get everything new in there, And then 6 months down the road, come back in, have to tear everything back out just to get the cylinder back out. So that's where we ended up on that. That's why we're asking for the 300,000. We might not need it all, but we have to go to a maximum amount.
As I remember from the action of the ARPA committee, it was a motion for up to.
Right.
Yeah, so. Any questions for Greg or any questions on the recommendation? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carried. We are to C, approval of ARPA capital funds for the asbestos removal of the old LEC. You have the application in front of you. And this is the amount of $29,940. Greg, do you want to make any comments on this one?
Yes, this company was very, very good. They came in and they worked on this testing for a good 3 weeks. They have a lot of time and effort into this. We thought maybe we might have to phase it down to different phases. But she came down underneath the allowed for putting it out for bids. And so she's actually given us a pretty good break on that. If it goes out for bids, it would have to be, her price would probably have to come up. But I mean, they tested, I never seen so many things that could have asbestos in it. She tested everything. And like I say, she was there for weeks testing things. So this is a very good company. I think they're going to do us a really good job. And once we're done with it, the whole building will be done. We won't have to worry about any more asbestos in that building.
Any questions? Yeah, Tom?
Greg, when they get done with this, is there a cost to replace anything in that building? In other words, you have to put in a new floor, new ceiling, wall coverings, what happens?
No, the area actually we are stripping out. So we're not going to have any ceilings in, only just one office area that I'm going to have in that building. Other than that, everything's we've ripped out all the ceilings already. So that it gives them access to get all the asbestos. There's 500 elbows on that heating system on the boiler section, and that's not counting the thickness of the asbestos that's around the boiler itself. So all that's coming out. There's not going to be any initial cost of replacing anything other than we're going to need a new heating system in there, which we're just thinking of unit heaters in there. So nothing that's going to be super expensive.
Thank you.
Any further questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Okay, that takes care of all of our ARPA recommendations. We'll go to D, fiscal year, the budget meeting schedule. You want to talk about that, Paula, or?
I just wanted you guys to make sure that you had that schedule on your calendars. That schedule was actually approved back in January or something and advertised. So that's just a reminder that budget is starting and those are the dates that you're going to need to be available for budget meetings.
You want to talk about what we discussed in regards to department heads and how we're going to try to streamline some things in regards to the meeting with the department heads and whatnot?
Wendy had suggested that as opposed to meeting with every department head and having them come in and present, some of them don't have a lot of changes from year to year unless they have maybe a capital project. And you spend a fair amount of time on decisions or lack of decisions, I should say, that probably don't have a lot of impact. So we were proposing or planning to collect all of the information, go through, run some formulas, determine who has the biggest changes, who has things that you guys maybe need to consider, and then have those individuals brought to you at the hearings as opposed to every department head that maybe doesn't really have any significant changes or that type of thing. So that is kind of how we were proposed going forward. I think Jim at first, at least anyway, hopefully he hasn't changed his mind, had a positive reaction to that. So what are your guys' thoughts?
So the one thing I said to Paula, it's always nice, when we made the change, well, I think it was last fiscal year, last budget cycle, we changed the practice that we would assign departments to each of the individual finance committee members, and then we'd go and then you report back and that kind of thing. So then we changed it so that everybody could hear the same information. We brought the department heads in. So Paula brought it to my attention that, hey, we're spending time, with certain areas that really don't have any significant, changes. And that cuts back on the time that we have to spend on some of the weightier issues. And I agree with that. The one thing that I had a little bit of concern with is that a lot of times those department heads don't get an opportunity to talk to us, and we don't get to talk to them. But so we had the discussion of, where is the appropriate time? It's just like, Tim, you've been county all of your life, but yet you've been gone and doing other things, and now you've come back and people changed. We've got a lot of new county board members that have never met these department heads, and so it gets an opportunity to see them. But at the same time, is the budget hearing the proper place to do that? Or, we really need to develop, in my view, we need to develop a orientation for new board members that work with the department heads. And so that experienced county board members can participate as well and do it that way rather than do it in the budget meeting. So I had no objection to the change that Wendy and Paula put together.
Anybody else have any concerns or want to keep it the same way?
You guys are so quiet this morning. Oh, God.
Clear them? Thoughts? Don't want the change? Okay, Tom? Rick?
I did.
My question is, at what level are we going to, who decides what monetary level that we're going to have to meet with whomever to make?
I don't know. We haven't really thought about that yet. I mean, my initial,
I mean, there's got to be a thought there somewhere, 10,000.
Well, I
50,000.
put into my
Fair question.
spreadsheet. I put into my spreadsheet at this point, 5% or $10,000. So, well, it's kind of a combination of, because in some funds, some lines, $10,000 is an insignificant amount of money.
Right.
Sometimes not, depends on which line item we're talking about. So it's kind of like a little combination of those is to determine those. So we just sent out budget worksheets to all the department heads last Friday. We have had some that have been returned, so we've been dropping those in, but that was my initial setup of that. And I can change those to be a different dollar amount.
I was just curious
Yeah.
how we.
Yeah.
arrived.
I mean, if anybody's got any thoughts, but I had 5%, 10,000. Yeah.
And I would say, as we go through the process as well, if a question arises and we want to meet with the department head, there's
Oh,
no
yeah,
question we
absolutely.
bring them in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so don't think that we're,
I just wanted at the starting point.
Right. Yeah. So who's your problem people? We can just bring those in anyway.
Okay.
Kidding. All right. Any other questions on that?
that's not an action item. That was
That was just an
just
informational item.
information. Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Just to, please mark your calendars.
sure. Okay, move on to E, approval Whipley, the audit proposal. Entertain motion for approving Whipley for our next year's audit, moved by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. Discussion. So now, this is, what year are we in with Whipley now?
So you're not. I can't really see you standing.
Yeah,
here.
I know. That's one bad thing about these monitors.
You have a lot of monitors. So we went through an audit proposal process, audit RFP process last summer because we were at the end of a 3-year with Whipley. So we got three proposals back, one from Sickage, one from Whipley, and one from Lauterbach and Amen. Lauterbach and Amen was significantly less than everybody else's, the other two. However, I could not pin them down on what that was going to cover.
Right.
Like we have several single audits due to lots, and now with ARPA, we're going to have another single audit. And they didn't really want to pin down on exactly. So I was concerned that you were going to get nickeled and dimed with every, oh, well, we've got 4 single audits, so therefore we need to, charge you an extra for this and extra for that, and this change and that change. So the other issue with Lauterbach and Amen was they do the actuary work for our retiree health insurance. So that creates, I believe, under some of the new regs out there, maybe no, that might actually be a reg. Regs out there that there's a conflict of interest there. So we dropped them and only signed up with Whipley for 1 year at the amount that they had proposed in their proposal. So you can either accept the other 2 years of Whipley's proposal if you want to stay with them. If you're concerned about having one auditor for too many years, you can request different employees to come in and do that audit so that you feel like there's more independence. Or we could go out for bid again, although it's probably getting a little late to get that done for the year.
Well, I have no problem with Whitley, this cycle, but,
So-
but it's good practice.
Yes, so this,
so.
they've just finished their 7th year.
Mhm.
So
So
if
that
you do
was my
this, they'll be, if you approve 2 more years of this, or you can do it 1 year at a time, they have agreed to stay with the quote that they gave us last year for the next few years. Then they would be here a total of 9 at that point.
All right. Thank you for that. Rick?
Question, Paul, on this proposal.
Yeah.
Is it the total that they put down, or is it the line items they put, because they don't add up, I don't believe.
Or one's 1,100, the other's 100. So it's 1,000. Say 1,100 instead of 100. Additional. Correct?
If you look at the first line item, it's 39,022 and 40,123, but the total and all the rest of them are the same. Bottom, the total is 64,250 and 64,350. It's only $100 difference, but there's a obvious
Yeah,
difference
they've
in
got a
that.
typo there. So it would be the total of the lines, not the totals at the bottom, that I'm sure that they would insist upon putting into a contract. This is just from the proposal, so
Perhaps we just have them do this year and then we go out for bid next year.
that's an option that you can choose.
I mean, they've been here long enough. I mean, let's see what we.
Well, I think it's, not that I think it's required, but I think it's.
It's not required. You don't have to. I mean,
but
there's
think it's
companies
good
that have
practice.
used the same auditor for literally decades. So the one thing with staying with the same auditor is that you streamline the audit quite a bit. There's a lot of a learning curve to bringing in new auditors, which is why when they stick with companies stick with the same audit firm, they just request new staff every few years. But they still have the consistency of having all of those old work papers and an established process of coming in here and what to look for. So new auditors are, I don't want to really say this in a public way, but they're probably not very effective for several years.
That's a fair point. Okay, motion on the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Up, Rick?
Just a quick question, Paul, do you know this DOPE grant that we're getting audited on? Is That's strictly for lots.
Yes,
They reimburse the county for that or?
yes, they pay that part.
Thank
It
you.
comes out of their grant. Yep.
Okay, everybody good? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. All right. Oh, okay. What do you want to do back, as far as do it over again or?
For the asbestos?
For the asbestos proposal on the ARPA. And I think it was Tom and Tim is what I was remembering.
Asbestos.
Okay, so just, I think it was, but just to help her with her recorder, on the asbestos, the motion is to forward to the executive committee approval for the ARPA recommendation for the asbestos removal, moved by Kitson, seconded by Bivens. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Can I,
You're welcome.
Sure, this will-
Always will take care of the housekeeping.
can I ask something?
Yes.
So you just approved the Whipley thing. Did you change this motion that the way it was written?
There was no amendment to as presented.
Okay, so then you just approved 2 years, just FYI.
So, okay, that's right. That's right. So.
Oh, no.
Too late. Oh,
You know,
that's
I'm-
why,
you know,
that's
2
why
years
there's
is-
an amendment. Oh, anyway, we don't have any executive session unless there's something that somebody wants to talk about. Okay, all right. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Yep, Tim. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Yes, you wanted to talk about the fuel line item.
Yeah, so if nothing else to let everybody know that
Yep, come on up.
Yeah, that's why we ordered it. Sure.
I believe the sheriff has kind of brought this to your attention previously, but obviously with gas prices, our gas line item is not doing well. We have spent 65,000 this year. Our last payment was almost 12,000. We do have enough to make the June payment. However, going into what we'll have to pay for the last 4 of July, August, September, and October, the November payment won't come until the end. So I'll actually go on next fiscal year. But the way we're going, probably going to be start averaging a little over 12,000 per month. We have put some mitigation type stuff into play with our deputies, but with this time of year, we are busier. This time of year, certainly it gets hotter and the air conditioners are on. Being able to down, certainly try, but we will definitely come the end of next month be in big trouble in our gas line.
Have you taken a look at what you're anticipating? You're at 65,000. So
If anything, I'm anticipating, using last month, it was $11,800 some odd dollars. Obviously, gas prices are still rising. So I'm anticipating again for us that 11,800 is going to increase. I mean, again, we can try anything we can do to mitigate, we will do. But again, I want to stress the fact that our primary function is to drive the county. Falls that not, we will be racing around the county. That's what describe it. And we're really, everything that I hear, I suppose, from the world is that gas prices are only going to increase, that in Illinois, we're going to start hitting $6.
What is the price per gallon? Are you paying the pump price or?
No, I don't know if I can quite explain WEX. We had gone through some of the old paperwork that I have, but we do get, I'm going to say, a significant discount. And when I say significant, it could be as much as 10 to 12 cents per gallon that we get by using the WEX card. Most of the time, it seems like when we were, let's say, good with averages around 7,000. I think most of our credit back was a little over $100. So certainly if we're doubling that, we're probably getting a credit back $200, something to that effect. By bill, they'll show us kind of, this is the actual, this is what they're charging us, and this is the credit back. But again, it can be probably anywhere from $100 to $200 credit back.
Where are the squads fueling at then?
We have WEX cards, so we can fuel basically anywhere in the United States for the most part.
Okay.
Which we have, again, using those mitigating philosophies, talk to the deputies about, you got to price shop.
Do we, I'm sorry, but
Yeah, we're basically looking for the lowest price that we can find.
do we know that if we can get a cheaper price if we bought by the tanker like did many years ago before the tank, say, we had a 10,000 gallon tank and it was quite cheap back then. But is there any way of looking into that, seeing what the
We
cost would be?
certainly could. That's not anything that I had thought of.
I mean, there'd be initial expenditure of putting the tank back in, but I think given this price that we're paying, I mean, there could be significant savings too, depending, because every time you buy a 10,000 gallon tanker, if you can get, instead of 10 or 12 cents, you can get 50 cents. I mean, that's significant in 1 year's time.
Sure. I know when I originally started many moons ago, we went to, I think it was still kind of the Park District. And I don't know if I was here when we had our own tank or was when what you're talking about. That
Down
was our
on
own
out
tank.
4th Street with
Yeah, certainly, I'm open to any type of suggestions and what we might be able to look into.
Could you
help.
find that out if we bought by the tanker, what that would cost?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. You guys tax exempt?
Yes.
Does that come out of the WICs or how do they do that? 'Cause they won't take that off the pump.
I'd have to look at the reports to be able to explain it to you, but we are tax exempt.
Like the sales tax and the federal excise tax, that's especially when the price goes up, that increases the cost. Okay, thank you.
Well, I think I can speak for the committee that, we understand, there's two farmers sitting here on this committee. We know exactly what fuel prices have done, David, and we'll make sure that line item stays solvent. So
Greatly appreciate it.
we'll look for your the ugly numbers next month.
Yeah, hopefully again, we're trying, but I'm not gonna try to snow you that it's gonna be good next month.
Right. Paula?
Are you planning to do a budget adjustment next month, or are you going to wait until the end of the year when we adjust everything?
Well, we had talked about grouping it together, and I guess which would
Which would be at
which
the
would
end
be
of the
cleaner, and actually,
We
what
would-
do we have to do if with them coming up and
Those usually
running out of
happen
their line item?
those usually happen in October, November timeframe.
Okay.
Just know that it's going to be upside down until then, unless you're going to do something specific before then.
Rick?
Is there any restrictions? I see it in the property life safety tax, whatever we passed for the jail. There's quite an increase in the revenue coming in. Can we utilize the funds from that line item instead of taking them out of the general fund?
I think I know the answer to the question, but
I didn't hear the
the question, Rick's question is can the monies that the surplus monies that we're getting in the public safety fund can pay for the extra?
That's what we're going to have to do.
There you go. All right. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Okay. Stacy, you snuck in on me. Did you have anything for us? All right. Sounds good. Okay. Anything else good for the cause? All right. Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Bivens, seconded by Kitson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.